Good Morning America, fueling the flames. A new round of Santa Ana winds intensifying the fire danger, threatening more neighborhoods. New evacuation orders overnight, with the death toll rising. Firefighters battling on the ground and in the air as displaced residents return to survey what's left amid the immense scope of the devastation and questions about whether firefighting efforts were hampered by a lack of water. The demands for an investigation.
Confirmation battles, the names under the most scrutiny as more than a dozen hearings get underway this week for top positions of power in the new administration.
What's next for TikTok? A Supreme Court ruling due any day on a potential ban in the U.S. What users need to know. Is there a workaround? And could Donald Trump step in to save it?
Exclusive. The eldest daughter of imprisoned momfluencer Ruby Franke speaking out.
What is spiritual abuse? What is emotional abuse? And it kind of all checked the boxes with things that Ruby had done.
The state of their relationship right now.
Fast food wars, the popular chains offering competing value meals to try to win your dollar and your stomach.
Eat like a king who's on a budget.
Where you can snack and save.
Intercepted on the sideline.
And Wild Card Weekend. Who came out on top? All the highlights, plus ESPN's Herm Edwards previews the game still to come.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
And we do say Good Morning America on this Sunday. Good to have Rhiannon in here for Janae. We want to get right to that growing situation in L.A. Even though winds were calmer yesterday, firefighters had just hours of relief because overnight, those Santa Ana winds picked up yet again, raising concerns that the wildfires could grow and more homes could be threatened.
Let's talk about where we stand this morning. The death toll right now rising to 16 with 13 people still missing, although it's unclear whether those are all fire related. Over 150,000 people are under evacuation orders. Over 71,000 customers are dealing with power outages.
And more than 12,000 structures have been damaged or destroyed, and new evacuation orders were issued overnight. At least 8 states and 2 countries, Canada and now Mexico, pitching in to help fight the fires. We have team coverage this morning, beginning with Matt Rivers in Pacific Palisades for us. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning. With yesterday, very tense scenes in a Brentwood neighborhood where we saw flames coming right up close to some properties there. But firefighters were able to fight those flames yesterday, thanks in part to a lull in the winds. The winds have gone down a little bit. That's a good thing. I think there's an uneasy calm right now in Los Angeles as we are expecting those winds to pick back up this week.
This morning, a fierce battle against fire underway across Los Angeles as those powerful Santa Ana winds make an unwelcome return. The Palisades fire, scorching through more than 23,000 acres and counting, only 11% contained, now threatening popular neighborhoods like Brentwood and Encino, triggering new evacuations in both places.
It's very difficult, but we're alive. We're alive.
First responders working tirelessly around the clock. Aircraft diving over and over, dropping water and retardant in an effort to stop the flames from spreading.
But, we were sitting here, they probably did 50 drops between this whole line here.
And on the ground, we followed firefighters in Brentwood as they held the line against the onslaught of flames.
So you can see with these wind gusts, those flames trying to force their way up from the bottom of the canyon, and as they do so, they're getting closer and closer to this house here. This is somebody's patio that we're on, and you can see the firefighters doing their best to make sure the flames don't get this high. Without these firefighters here right now, the house here, other houses in this neighborhood, almost certainly gone.
With dwindling resources, the firefighters using water from the pool of the very same home they were fighting to save to bolster their own water supply. A flare-up early Saturday, even spawning this stunning fire-nado, spreading the flames. New satellite images showing the Palisades fire burning south of the Encino Reservoir, massive plumes of smoke blanketing the skies. Palisades just one of several fires still burning around Los Angeles. The Eaton fire scorching through more than 14,000 acres and only 15% contained. Malcolm Stewart did his best to save lives the night that fire broke out near his home in Altadena, racing around without water, still trying to put out the flames.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just thinking about trying to save my neighborhood. I grew up here.
And he managed to save several homes, but for so many others, he could only watch.
I'm devastated. I wish I would have had water, and saved all these houses.
The death toll from all the fires now rising to 16, though officials warn the full scope of the loss of life is still unclear. Governor Gavin Newsom now doubling the amount of National Guard deployed in Los Angeles. Firefighters even flying in from Mexico to join the fight, the governor greeting them at the airport. And local authorities vowing to find out what exactly caused these devastating fires, announcing a task force led by the ATF.
This task force is made up of local, state, and federal partners designed to investigate the cause of these fires and to see if there's any connection between them.
Volunteers descending on this parking lot in Arcadia, hundreds of people donating supplies like clothes and food to evacuees, coming together to help their community however they can.
And so while things are relatively calm for the moment, we know that might not last. These red flag warnings in place until at least Wednesday of this week. The winds expected to pick back up, and when that happens, the threat of fire, of course, also rises. Gio?
Unbelievable to see those flames so close to the house. Matt, thank you so much. Now to the growing questions about LA County's response to the fires and the lack of water to fight them. ABC's Jacqueline Lee is in Altadena with this major part of the story. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Gio, good morning. That access to water critical for first responders and residents. You can see those flames burning in the hillside. It's powerful destruction so widespread. This used to be a coffee shop with nothing left behind. This morning, as people trickle back into their devastated communities.
I can see my washing machine. I can see so many remnants of what used to be.
Mujike Cooper and her fiance Alex stunned to see the Altadena home they spent 4 years in reduced to ashes.
What do you guys regret not taking with you?
Definitely my box of keepsakes. It had, my dad fought in World War II, came back to a segregated country, and there were little fragments of his tours around the Pacific that I really wish that I kept.
Stories now emerging about the lack of adequate water supply as firefighters and residents battled the flames. The water supply cut off.
Yeah, they shut the water off on us.
After watching her home burn to the ground in Altadena, 24-year-old Marcela Banuelos ran to her grandmother's home, grabbed a garden hose and tried to save it.
They shut the water off on us. And there was nothing we could do. Like, we didn't have any water to try to put out anything. And, I tried my best.
Governor Gavin Newsom demanding an independent investigation into the reported issue, while the LA fire chief claims her department saw a $17.6 million budget cut for the year. This as thousands of residents are now tasked with rebuilding from some of the worst fires in California history.
You see the rake, all of this just fell straight down.
Alex and Mujike say they will do so differently.
I'm going to be very conscious, since we're rebuilding from the ground up, of the materials that we use to make sure that it is fire deterrent, and in hopes that this doesn't happen again.
Residents tell me they are extremely nervous about their ability to obtain home insurance after rebuilding, and the state banning insurance companies from canceling and not renewing policies for 1 year. Rhiannon?
Oh, just devastating. Jacqueline Lee, thank you for that. As you heard Matt Rivers mention, a red flag warning remains in effect for much of Southern California as LA prepares for more strong Santa Ana winds this week. Samara Theodore is here now with the latest, and we know what those winds can mean for those fires, Samara.
That's right, Rhiannon. And in fact, this may get a little worse as far as the forecast goes before it gets better. All right, so red flag warnings are now extended through Wednesday. Places like the Pacific Palisades, up to San Fernando, Riverside, Irvine. We even have a high wind warning in Altadena. Fire weather watch all the way out to Escondido. Now, there is a critical fire risk in place for much of the Los Angeles County, Malibu, Simi Valley. This means that winds could gust up to 50 miles per hour, even stronger. And keep in mind, in places like the mountains, that's where we could see wind gusts as high as 75 miles per hour. And finally, we are going to see these winds pick up and peak Monday night into Tuesday morning. Whit?
Yeah, not the news fire crews want to hear, but we'll stay on top of it. Samara, thank you. Turning to politics now as confirmation battles begin this week for more than a dozen of President-elect Trump's key nominees. ABC's Mary Alice Parks is in Washington with more on what we can expect. Mary Alice, good morning.
Yeah, well, good morning. The incoming Trump team is no doubt eager to get these confirmation hearings underway. There are 14 scheduled this week in various Senate committees, 3 on Tuesday, including the first hearing for Pete Hegseth, President-elect Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense. He's been one of Trump's most controversial nominees, facing accusations of sexual and financial misconduct as well as alcohol abuse. He denies those claims and has never been charged. He also does not have the traditional experience expected for someone potentially assuming this role beyond his time serving in the Army National Guard. We know this morning the senators have more information about him. ABC confirmed the FBI has interviewed multiple people about his personal life as a part of a background check investigation. Hegseth sat for an interview as well with the FBI. The top senators on the Armed Services Committee were briefed on the results of that investigation. Now, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, Trump's pick to lead the Department of Homeland Security, and Pam Bondi, nominated to be Attorney General, both scheduled for hearings Wednesday. Both of those will likely get a lot of attention as well. Whit?
Yep, a busy January on Capitol Hill. Mary Alice Parks, thank you. Let's bring in ABC's chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, who'll be hosting This Week later on this morning. John, good morning to you. So what are the biggest hurdles ahead, do you think, for Donald Trump's nominees, and who's likely to face the toughest fights?
Well, this is going to be a heck of a week. In just 1 week, you've got, I think it's 14 different cabinet nominees that will have hearings. The most controversial this week certainly will be Pete Hegseth, for the reasons you heard Mary Alice talk about, both the allegations against him, which he denies, but also his level of experience. Some saying he's just not experienced to take on the Pentagon. But also those 2 days of hearings with Pam Bondi. She's expected to be confirmed relatively easily, but so many tough questions about how she will handle the Justice Department, the pardons for the January 6th rioters, just the start of that. But beyond that, I mean, we've got Kash Patel for the FBI, Tulsi Gabbard for the Directorate of National Intelligence. You have a series, Bobby Kennedy, a series of very controversial nominees. These will be some of the liveliest confirmation hearings we've ever seen.
Yeah, it might get even more heated in the weeks ahead. I do want to turn to this, though, because we're just 8 days away now from Trump's second inauguration. What are the top issues we can expect him to take on right away?
Well, in terms of legislation, I think it's going to be the border. Legislative and executive orders, the border, securing the borders, his talk of mass deportations. Second to that, certainly his plans to renew the Trump tax cuts and perhaps do additional tax cuts. But then you have the foreign policy realm. He's talked about having a meeting soon with Vladimir Putin, suggested that there's been even some conversations between the two sides about setting that up. I'm going to be talking this morning with Trump's incoming national security advisor, Mike Waltz. We'll certainly be talking about that. And of course, what Trump said just this week about taking over Greenland and the Panama Canal, maybe even Canada. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting, to say the least, on the foreign policy front for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and where all of that could fit into this agenda as he comes into the White House once again. John Karl, thank you so much, as always. And remember to tune into This Week later on. As John mentioned, he interviews incoming White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz about President-elect Trump's foreign policy agenda. Plus, John has the very latest on the L.A. wildfires with FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell and Senator Adam Schiff from California. Gio?
All right, Whit, now to the rise in respiratory illness across the U.S. Things are so bad in one state that some hospitals, they're actually restricting visitors. And ABC's Morgan Norwood is here with the new details. Good morning, Morgan.
Gio, good morning. If it feels like everyone around you is coughing or sneezing, look, you are not imagining it. Hospitals across the country are dealing with a wave of respiratory illnesses hitting families hard, especially young kids. The CDC says more than half of the country, at least 35 states, are seeing high or very high levels of flu, COVID, RSV, even the common cold. So far this season, the flu alone has sent more than 63,000 people to the hospital and caused at least 2,700 deaths. That includes 11 children. And we are expecting fresh numbers tomorrow. Meanwhile, in Michigan, the situation's so serious that 2 major Detroit health systems are now limiting visitors to help stop the spread of flu and RSV. Pediatric units especially overwhelmed, with some hospitals at 95% capacity. Health experts urging everyone to get their annual flu and COVID vaccines if they haven't already, and Rhiannon, to stay home if you are sick.
Good advice there, Morgan. Stay home if you are sick. Now let's get to the future of TikTok. A majority of Supreme Court justices appear inclined to uphold the federal law that would ban the social media app here in the U.S. unless its China-based parent divests. Now, the ruling likely in the next few days. ABC's Alexis Christoforous is here now to talk more about this. And Alexis, I think a lot of people thought this would never happen. So how exactly would a ban work? Would people still be able to use the app?
It's important to know using the app is not illegal. If you have it on your phone, it's not a crime to go into it and to scroll if it does get banned. If it is indeed banned, it's unclear really what's going to happen. Even the lawyer for TikTok said he's not completely sure. He told the Supreme Court justices he believes it will just disappear. That's what happened in India when they banned the app back in 2020. It just disappeared. May not be the case here. The Apple and Google Play stores will not be able to host the app any longer. So if you never downloaded it, you won't be able to. If you're one of the 170 million people in this country who have the app, half the country, you're no longer going to get software updates. The internet hosting companies and data storage providers who support the app won't be able to do that. If they do, they'll get hefty fines. So over time, the app's going to become glitchy. It'll be slow. The functionality will erode, and it'll be obsolete.
So one question we're hearing a lot, if the ban goes into effect, is there some way users can get around it?
Right. When there's a will, there's a way. Doesn't always mean it's a good way. You could use your web browser, use Safari to get on the TikTok website. That is going to be a stripped down version, so the experience is going to be really different. There's also VPN, the virtual private network that makes it think you're not in the country that's banned the app. There's a small fee that goes along with that. Whatever you do, though, if you're using a third party or using these go-arounds, be sure that you're not leaving yourself vulnerable to malware.
Okay, the timeline here is really fascinating, though, right? Because this TikTok shutdown is set to happen January 19th.
Right.
The very next day, Donald Trump is inaugurated. He has said he wanted to save TikTok. Can he do anything?
Remember in his first administration, he moved to shut it down. That got blocked by the courts. Now he says he wants to save it. He's asking the court for more time. He says, let me get in the White House so I can negotiate a sale of TikTok. We don't know what that would look like. At the end of the day, he could choose not to enforce this ban, basically signal to Apple and Google, go ahead and host it. We just won't fine you. The Supreme Court justices are not happy about that. He could also go to Congress and say, look, let's eliminate the ban, come up with new legislation. Whatever he does, though, it probably won't happen overnight.
The wild card weekend now in the NFL. Two teams moving ahead overnight. 4 more games on tap. ABC's Perry Russom is here with more on that. Perry, good morning.
Whit, good morning to you. An odd moment last night in the Ravens-Steelers game. The game had to be stopped because of a drone flying over the stadium, but on the field, nothing was stopping the Ravens.
Jackson fires.
Overnight, the Baltimore Ravens flying into the divisional round, a wild card weekend beatdown of their rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Derrick Henry stomping all over the Steelers, breaking free for this 44-yard touchdown.
There goes Henry. There goes Henry.
Henry ends the night with 186 yards on the ground and ends the Steelers season. Wildcard weekend starting with the Los Angeles Chargers visiting the Houston Texans. Before the game, a moment of silence for those affected by the wildfires in Southern California. Players on the field wearing these LAFD shirts and hats. After the Chargers jumped out to a 6-0 lead,
he nails it.
It was all Texans.
Touchdown! Texans on the board.
The Texans defense turning it on at the end of the third quarter. Eric Murray running this one all the way back for a touchdown.
Touchdown, Texans!
The Chargers fighting back.
Herbert steps up, throws it in the air. Catch made. McConkey breaking away.
Justin Herbert connecting with Ladd McConkey, an 86-yard touchdown throw.
Touchdown!
But the extra point gets blocked, popped up in the air.
Dicker knocks it away and gets clubbed on the play.
And the Texans run it back for 2 points. This was a nightmare game for Justin Herbert.
Picked off, 4th of the day.
Throwing 4 interceptions. That's more than he threw during the entire regular season.
And we have a full schedule of games today. 3 matchups, Denver at Buffalo, Green Bay at Philly, and Washington visits Tampa Bay with.
And Perry, the Monday Night Football game had to be moved because of those wildfires. What do we know about that?
Yeah, so that game is the Minnesota Vikings against the LA Rams. It was supposed to be a home game for the Rams, but because of the fires, it was moved to Arizona, where the Cardinals play. The Cardinals owner sent 2 planes to pick up the Rams and bring the team to Arizona. Their families and pets came to it.
It's great to see the league offering some support. Perry, thank you so much. Of course, you can see the Vikings take on the Rams in Arizona. That's tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC and ESPN.
It still very much should feel like a home game for the Rams since it's much easier to get to.
Definitely.
From
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. All right, coming up here on GMA, more NFL. ESPN's Herm Edwards is going to join us to break down those top wildcard weekend matchups still to come.
Plus, the latest fast food wars heating up, the deals as the big chains try to stake a claim, and your dining out dollar.
And Shari Franke is opening up about growing up in the years before her influencer mom went to prison for child abuse.
And I'm still in the field.
She gone.
She is the queen. Welcome back to GMA on this Sunday morning. The Beehive is buzzing this morning in anticipation for Beyonce to make a big announcement on Tuesday. Immediately following her Cowboy Carter Christmas halftime show that we all loved, Beyonce shared a tease of her on a horse with an American flag. There you see it. And then the date, 1/14/25. From a new album to a new tour or even maybe a documentary, fans have all kinds of theories on social media. But it looks like we're going to have to wait till she's ready to tell us.
Yep.
On the
What
14th.
could it be?
A lot of speculation. All of those, I think, pretty good guesses, right?
Yeah.
Album tour.
Yeah. Or it'll be something that none of us have even thought
Maybe
of.
we're just so surprised. A whole new movie or something. Who knows?
Exactly. All right, more on that ahead. First, let's take a look at some of the other big stories that we're following on this Sunday morning. Happening right now, a new round of Santa Ana winds fueling the flames in Southern California. Fire danger intensifying and threatening more neighborhoods as new evacuation orders were issued overnight. The death toll from the fires rising to 16 fire-related deaths. More than 150,000 people are under evacuation orders, and more than 71,000 customers dealing with power outages.
Also right now, dozens of people were injured when 2 trams collided in France Saturday afternoon. Authorities say none of the injuries are critical, thankfully. Investigators are trying to figure out what caused the 2 trams to collide in a tunnel leading to the city's main station. One of the trams was found derailed.
And the Jeff Bezos space company Blue Origin is set to launch its larger rocket for the first time. The company is getting ready to send its New Glenn rocket into orbit from Cape Canaveral as early as Monday morning. New Glenn is meant to eventually be a reusable rocket that can send large payloads into orbit. What was supposed to be a Friday launch was postponed twice because of the weather. Very interesting. It's going to be a very big rocket.
When does our space nerd get to go to space?
Yeah, well, let's see.
We're working on it. Yeah.
All right, we are going to start here this half hour with an ABC News exclusive. The eldest daughter of mom influencer Ruby Franke sharing her story about what it was like growing up in the years before her mom was sentenced to prison for child abuse. Shari Franke has written a book about it, and we have more from Eva Pilgrim's talk with her, including where she says their relationship stands right now.
I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
Ruby Franke, once popular momfluencer, now a convicted child abuser. The case garnering headline after headline, captivating the country.
It has made things hard building relationships now that people can learn a lot about me just by looking me up online. But I've been able to choose now what parts of my life I choose to share with the public and what I don't.
But now Ruby's eldest child, Shari, detailing what she says it was like growing up with Ruby in her new memoir, The House of My Mother.
Keeping them home from school and wiping the floorboards would really bring pain.
A lot of narratives in the media kind of pinpoint Jody as the reason that things went wrong and Ruby was good until Jody came. But I wanted to show that that wasn't the case and that wasn't my experience.
Jody Hildebrandt was her mother's mentor and her family's counselor who moved into the family home. Shortly after, her father moved out. Shari says she was cut off from the family when she left for college.
It wasn't until I left for college that I, started looking up, what is a cult? What is spiritual abuse? What is emotional abuse? And it kind of all checked the boxes with things that Ruby had done.
In August 2023, a disturbing reality was revealed. Shari's younger brother escaping, going to a neighbor's home.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
and he's said he just came from a neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs.
This 911 call leading to her mother and Hildebrandt's arrests.
What was hard is that I was kind of learning information about the case, like as the world was finding out. I wanted to be told first, like I was the family.
Are you proud of your little brother?
I mean, I think yes, the whole world is proud of him.
Franke and Hildebrandt both pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse against the 2 youngest children. They will serve at least 4 years in prison.
I don't think I'll ever get an apology. I don't need an apology. I've, worked through that. Lots of therapy, lots of inner work, and again, whether she apologizes or not, it's not gonna change my healing.
And she does write to you from prison.
She wrote to me once, and yeah, she hasn't written since. I think she gets the idea that we don't want to hear from her.
Kevin, your father, who you refer to as Kevin in the book, you are speaking to him, and what's that relationship like now?
That relationship is really important to me, and that broke my heart, to be kind of disowned by that and not be able to speak to him.
Kevin Franke telling ABC News he's proud of his daughter. The recently engaged Shari telling us she is focused on rebuilding her family relationships and the future.
Do you want to be a mother?
I do want to be a mother, for sure. I told myself when I was young, even before Jody, like, I'm not going to be like Ruby. I'm going to be a better mother.
For Good Morning America, Eva Pilgrim, ABC News, New York.
And the deals galore you can get at fast food restaurants these days, all trying to attract customers at a time when money is really tight for a lot of people. ABC's Alexis Christoforous looks at how you can save and still fill your stomach up. We like to hear that, Alexis.
Lots
Good morning.
of deals. Good morning, guys. In fact, the value meal is making a comeback. Many fast food chains ringing in the new year with budget-friendly deals as they battle for your business.
Eat like a king who's on a budget.
It's shaping up to be the year of the value meal.
Have you ever dreamt of getting 2 of your fave Wendy's items for $7?
Fast food chains rolling out deals to win back bargain-hungry consumers who've lost their appetite over higher prices.
I thought fast food places were supposed to be cheap and fast. Tell me why I got a burger with fries and a drink, and it was $16.
Restaurants are taking notice. McDonald's announcing it's extending its $5 meal deal through the summer and adding a buy one, add one option for $1 more. Subway kicking off the new year with a sandwich of the day, bag of chips and small drink for $7. And Taco Bell set to launch its $5, $7, and $9 Luxe Cravings boxes this week. It all comes after some chains raised prices to offset the higher cost of food and labor.
Households were sensitive to the higher prices, and as a result, they shifted some of their spending on food to preparing meals at home.
According to government figures, the price of eating out is rising faster than inflation, up 3.6% from a year ago, more than double the cost of eating at home. Consumers happy to see the value meals return.
Today I am super excited to tell you about Burger King's new $5 Duo and $7 Trio deal they got going on.
Experts say these fast food wars could mean more value on the menu for consumers.
I wouldn't expect these deals to stick around for a long time, but consumers shouldn't worry too much about a sticker shock in the future.
He's excited about Burger King. All right, other ways to save. Join a fast food chain's loyalty program and take advantage of special in-app only deals like McDonald's Free Fries Fridays.
Ooh.
Say that 5 times real fast.
Free Fries Friday. I'm a fry guy, so I kind of like that.
Did you guys see that foot-long cookie?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
My daughters brought one of those home the other day. Yeah.
Did you eat it?
I sure did.
Alexis, thanks for making us hungry. Appreciate it. All right, coming up here on Good Morning America, sizing up the wild card matchup still to come. ESPN's Herm Edwards. You know he's going to share his predictions. Come on back.
We're back now on GMA with the rest of the wild card weekend getting ready to play out in the NFL. And our friend Coach Herm Edwards is joining us now with his insights on the games. Coach, good morning to you. It's always great to have you. Let's jump right into this one because we got the Commanders playing the Bucks. Your guy, quarterback Jaden Daniels, he's been exceptional this season for Washington. How do you see him handling the pressure of his first playoff game?
Well, I think it won't be too much for Jaden, but you think about going back to the opening game of the season, they played the Bucks and lost 37-20. Now, this is a little bit of the history of Jaden Daniels. When he runs for 50 or more yards, they're 6-2. So that's going to be very important that he leaves the pocket at times and extends plays with his legs. Now, the problem Washington has is Baker Mayfield. People don't realize the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're the third-ranked offense in the National Football League, and Baker Mayfield has thrown, listen to this number, 41 touchdown passes. I'll say it again, 41 touchdown passes. So this ought to be a high-scoring affair. I think at the end of the day, it'll be in the fourth quarter, and whatever quarterback has the ball last will probably win this football game.
All right, Coach. Well, let's look at the Green Bay Packers now meeting your Philly Eagles. Saquon Barkley was a key factor in the Week 1 matchup, scoring 3 touchdowns against Green Bay. So what adjustments do you think the Packers need to make to contain him this time around?
Well, obviously, they're going to try to contain it, but I don't know if you can do that. The guy ran for 2,000 yards. I think what you got to do is, if you're the Green Bay Packers, basically do this. Try to get a lead. Try to make the Philadelphia Eagles beat you throwing the football. Hurst has obviously been, a little bit off the radar for the last 2 weeks as a quarterback. So make the Philadelphia Eagles one-handed. Make them try to beat you passing the football. That's the only way the Green Bay Packers have a chance to beat the Eagles. And even with all that, I think the Eagles will fly, Eagles fly.
Objectively.
Right. Okay, let's check our Who's with Herm tally. Whit was the only one who picked the Lions over the Vikings last week. That paid off.
Roar.
So here's how it looks. Whit has 14. Pretty good, Whit. Janae has 12. Herm has 11. And Gio, sorry, Gio, you have 7.
7's a great number.
Monday Night Football. We have the Vikings versus the Rams. That is now, of course, in Arizona. So, Herm, who's your pick?
Well, I'm behind, so I got to go. I got to go with the team no one's going to pick. I'm going to go with the Rams. I picked the Vikings last week.
Yeah, you did.
Against Detroit. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, you were.
Okay.
So I'm done with the Vikings. I'm going with the Rams now.
I also like the Rams in this one. Janae sent in her choice. She said whoever Herm's picking.
Okay, so the Rams.
Yeah,
I'm going with the Rams.
I'm going to reverse all you guys. And you know what? I feel confident because I got a lead, Herm, and I'm going to extend this lead. You were wrong last time on the Vikings. I'm going with the Vikings in this one over the Rams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got it. That's right. You see me coming there. Actually, you see me going. I'm extending this lead here.
Hey, we got to give him a win because his 49ers aren't even in it.
That's true. Okay, there we go.
That's a whole different story.
Right.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, Coach is my therapist on that one. Thank you, Herm, as always.
Thank you.
You can catch the Vikings versus the Rams. See who will come out on top. That is Monday night at 8 o'clock right here on ABC.
Also, by the way, Coach Edwards is coming in studio next weekend on Saturday right here.
Now on GMA with the special play of the day, the California Choir Rising from the Ashes. The Altadena Community Church was reduced to rubble from the Eaton fire, but that's not stopping the Pasadena Chorale, who had been meeting there for the past 16 years. The Church of the Brethren in Laverne, California, that's about 30 miles away, offered sanctuary for the singers. The church's minister of music says it's the least he can do, and the choir is thankful for the outreach, raising their voices to celebrate a community of caring. If you'd like to learn more on how to help those displaced by the LA fires, we have that QR code right there at the corner of the screen. You can find that information.
I could listen to them all day. What beautiful voices.
Beautiful.
And just a reminder, a church is not a building.
Right.
No. It's a community. It's a congregation. And it's great to see those inspiring moments amid so much destruction.
And thank you for starting your day with us. Have a great weekend.